This is the jack lift location on my Ford Transit from the owner's manual. That's the front. This is the back. Very helpful. Don't want to damage anything. This is the torque wrench poundage. Mine's 148. Here's the brake pads from Autozone, Duralast Gold. Heard negative things, also good things. I had a friend that worked with Autozone for a long time, owned one, and he highly recommended it. So I'm going to try these. I've also had a trusted company that we've used once, and they recommended for any vehicles with heavy heating or doing a lot of towing, the carbon ceramic PFCs from O'Reilly's, or you can look at Fleet's company. They also said for normal driving, do the Akabono brake pads. I don't know if I said that right, but I think I did. And Napa Auto Parts is what is the company that sells those. They say the Akabono are direct from the manufacturer. That's why they really like it. But I'm going to try to go with the AutoZone Duralast Gold, and that's the front and the back, and we'll see how it goes. I also had them write F and R on the areas so I can remember F for front, R for rear. The brake pads are different for the front and the rear. The calipers and the pistons are different from the front and the rear. So it's just a helpful reminder when you're grabbing for those boxes. I went with the 4-ton floor jack and 2 jack stands from Harbor Freight. A couple $100. I thought that was good money spent. Great safety, kept tension on the floor jack on the axle lift point, and that the twisting, release and lock, and it going up and down easily for all 4 wheels. Super handy. Recommend it. Very helpful. I started with the back brake pads first. I'm working on the back driver's side brake pad here. I have the wheel off, and I'm looking over everything, including the rotor, which is the shiny metal piece I just pointed to, and making sure there's no grooves, there's no indentation, there's no breaks or brittleness. It's smooth, shiny, means I don't need to replace that or any other piece. I'm looking at the brake pad right there inside. Maybe that's a 2 or a 3 on the measurement scale of 10, I believe it is. And in that, it looks like, hey, this is good timing to remove the brake pad, and on we go. When I remove the wheel, I have the caliper there, and then there's the one screw that one nut you'll loosen, and the bottom one I had to loosen. Then they have a damper on the back each wheel, and that's the damper right there. You do not have to remove that, but if you wanted to or it broke, there's the cap, very easy to open, and then I'll show you the inside what type of tool that would be, which is definitely different. But you don't have to remove the damper. But on the back calipers, you'll have to do the twisting mechanism. But before I did anything with the pistons, I made sure the brake fluid cap was loose, but I wanted to also check the levels before it would overflow potentially. I'll put the cap back on loosely. If I didn't, man, the caliper pistons would be really difficult. Removing the back driver's side and passenger side piston, they came off pretty easy, or the caliper and the piston, and as it's just slid right off. I didn't have my metal can there. I'd normally set it on, but the brake pad was easy to come off. Both of them didn't need to use a flathead screwdriver or anything else. Each brake pad has a clip on top and bottom, and it just slides right out. That's the caliper and the piston, and that needs to be pushed in, which I found that AutoZone leased out with a deposit to get the tool to screw that in, and when you return it not broke or anything, then they'll reimburse you that amount that you deposited, and so that worked out really well. Now I've pressed in the caliper, and then I've removed the brake pads, and I'm comparing the width of the brake pad, my old one that I just took off, to the new one I'm about to install, and the difference is not like massive, but I'm pretty sure it's maybe at a 2 or a 3 in the width. So it's a helpful just reference for me, seeing the difference of maybe I could have waited just a little bit longer, but I don't want to wait too long. So I'd rather get it done before it starts hitting the rotor or any other issue. The inside brake pad I found was slightly different, has a notch or a little metal bump that goes into the groove of the piston, so I had to keep the piston at 12 and 6 uh, after I pressed it in, and normally when I was twisting it stopped, the piston stopped, so it stayed. And this is the tool that I leased from AutoZone. I could purchase it for them for the whole amount if I wanted to, or just return it. After a little bit of problem solving, found that I just slide the metal piece over the handle, which was pretty simple, and then that slides over, and this metal piece will be the opposite of the piston. It pushes out against the frame of the caliper, while the tip, you got to make sure I made sure I had the right tip, and as I made sure of the right tip, those two metal pieces go in like a screwdriver to the piston and twist, and the piston went all the way in, and it was 12 and 6 when I was finished, and so I felt that was pretty darn easy. Now I'm lubing up the clips, the new clips that I put on. All you got to do is just the tips so they can easily go in and not stick. So now I'm working on the front brake pads to our Ford Transit 2015 350 3.7 liter. This is the front passenger side. I have the caliper removed. I have the outside brake pad removed, and I'm showing the rotors, and then I also have the inside front brake pad still on there. As I removed the caliper, what I'm touching right now, as you can tell, I had to finagle it back and forth, had to kind of jiggle it and kind of press to the right inside, and then finally it came loose. There's just little tiny metal pieces on the brake pads that prevent it from just sliding right off. So just take note on that. When you remove it, the fronts are different than the back. We use a C clamp. There's two pistons to the front brakes, and we just put the old brake pad there, and then as you wind up that C clamp, that old brake pad pushes the pistons in. And again, remember to loosen the brake fluid cap, as somehow I did not loosen it for the back passenger. I somehow, in my thinking, I tightened it, and then I forgot to loosen it again. Really helpful when you loosen it. But again, the fronts are different than the back, where you use the C clamp, and a lot simpler